Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. We are still here in season 6, and joining me today, it's the boys. Matthew Aguilar and Connor Casey are with me, and fellas, we got a lot to do today. So what's up?
Like Darby Allin with a flamethrower, I'm coming in hot. What's up, guys?
All right, and Matt, are you ready to go, buddy?
I'm ready to go.
All right, so let's get to it. Well, we're going to be doing a lot today. Just to give you a quick rundown, we're going to be talking about the new film Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Connor's going to help me with that. Oh, I just busted my elbow. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
That is why you stretch.
Yeah, I did stretch. I was too long there. I did stretch. I nailed my elbow with the stretchiness. Trying to do that Immortan Joe symbol. We got a lot of trailers to talk about. Big trailers drops. Beetlejuice, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, and Stranger Things, The First Shadow. So we got to break down those trailers. The Acolyte reactions are in. We have a Star Wars after show in the works. So we got to talk about what's going on with the Acolyte and what people are saying. And Matt's here when we got a special guest to jumping into our wrestling pod today. So we're happy to welcome a special guest. More on that after the break. But we're going to be talking about wrestling today as well. So like I said, we do it all for geek culture. And let's get to it right off the jump. I'm up first with the Acolyte. So Star Wars The Acolyte is going to be coming our way in just about, what is it now, like a week? I think we got about a week or two, or week, a couple days about that left. And then we're going to be getting into the Acolyte. And so we are getting the first reactions from the show. The first 4 episodes have been screened for the very, very special critics who are not us, but, you know, the people with the higher status than us, people who run a podcast about all things entertainment every week for 6 years. But no bitterness. No, I don't want to be like those other guys who are bitter about their Star Wars. I'm very happy about my Star Wars and my level of commitment. But I'm happy to say that at least out the gate, guys, it looks like the Acolyte is sounding like it's going to be good. Let's start with our own, keep it in the house, with our own Jamie Girac, Jamie Cinematics, host of Phase Zero and Star Wars fan as well. She said, I've waited so long for the Acolyte, and I cannot believe how much it's living up to my expectations. I love the first 2 eps. It's so exciting to see a new, old era explored in live action. Leslie Headland did a dynamite job fleshing out these characters. I'm obsessed. Another person I trust is Collider's Perry Nemiroff, who used to be my neighbor in New York. Shout out to Perry. Perry said she's seen 4 episodes of The Acolyte, and thus far it's a very big winner. The characters, the heavy emphasis on practical effects, and the stunts on how they're exploring what it means to be a Force user and how the Jedi operate are all working for her. So, you know, I'm going to stop. Another one I trust, Screen Rant's Joe Deckelmeyer, friend to my boy Rob Keys. So shout out to everybody. We're shouting, you know, I only trust the people I know. So nobody else is getting read up here. But Joe said,
Deckelmeyer is great.
Yeah, Deckelmeyer's a man. You know, my boy Rob Keys and all them, they get good talent over there. So, and just like we get good talent over here. So, Star Wars The Acolyte gives me Kill Bill vibes. Every episode left me wanting more in a good way. We've seen so much about the fall of the Jedi, but this explores what the Jedi are like during peacetime, which is quite fascinating. Amandla Stenberg, say that 3 times fast, is outstanding. So, there we go. So, basically, I can tell you with a certain amount of assurance that outside of maybe Jamie Girac, I'm pretty sure like not too many of these people also jumped into the High Republic as deep as, say, ya boy over here. So it's a lonely crowd of us High Republic, you know, people who have been up on all this, but we are a dedicated group. And so it's interesting to hear this for me being sold to a crowd of Star Wars fans who maybe have, this is their first High Republic experience, because I feel like, you know, as much as I wanted, just like Ahsoka, right? Like as much as I wanted everybody to be up on the Rebels of it all when we went into Ahsoka, you got to accept the fact that Star Wars is serving 2 masters, the rule of 2, and they're doing it for the mainstreams and for the people who are deep into this. So this is going to be kind of the same way, but I'm happy to hear that as a show, it is just appealing to people and to mainstream Star Wars fans without having to know a million things about the High Republic. So that's a good thing. But I feel like if you do know, because I've already had these debates, the purple whip lightsaber debate has been ongoing since the last trailer.
Yes.
But and people have been like, oh my God, Star Wars is just doing gimmicks. But it's like, no, if you know the High Republic, this is one of the first characters. Vernestra is like one of the first characters you meet in the YA side of it. And it is pretty good to see this character progression. Her race lives a long time, and this is like 100 years after we first meet her as a little girl when she's just a Padawan who saves the day, you know? So that purple whip has a whole story. And again, if you know the High Republic, it's good, but you don't have to. Guys, as two of the guys who, you know, you guys have done some High Republic stuff, mostly because I forced you through this podcast, but as two people who are kind of on that mainstream end, are you guys excited for the Acolyte? Have you been too burned by Star Wars lately? Or how are you feeling? Let's start with Connor, because I know I'll get the honest answer out of Connor right here. The not honest, but unfiltered, let's call it, answer from Connor right here.
Well, I was sold on the idea for this show from the start, and I've been on board with both trailers. So yeah, I'm thrilled to hear that this is doing well. My thing with the Star Wars shows has always been, Andor proved that if you separate the world from all of the deep Skywalker lore that we're bogged down with at times, and just tell interesting stories within the Star Wars universe, you can make some really cool stuff. And I think this just further proves that.
I was muted again. Matt, how are you feeling, buddy? You're always I never quite know what you're going to say about a Star Wars project. So where are you at with this one?
No, I'm excited. I mean, the trailers look fantastic, and I'm the one thing I am glad to see is that like with Ahsoka, a lot of the conversation online became, you know, like, oh, it's you have to know, like having to know Rebels, or at least have some kind of inkling of Rebels, became like a negative, became like a detriment, you know, like, oh my God, I gotta do homework before this or whatever. And then it also kind of created opportunities for like kind of like lazy criticisms of like, well, you know, this doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, okay, well, you can, I don't know. It's okay that there's past material to build upon, and that there's lore, and it's okay for some people to not know about that. Doesn't make it a negative, doesn't mean it's something that needs to be critiqued. So like for me going into this, knowing that it's tied so heavily to the High Republic, and that you can even see in the reactions, if you go through like a lot of the reactions, you can see who has and who hasn't. Like it's pretty apparent in even tweets, like who has some kind of background on it. You know, I'm kind of middle. I read some stuff, I didn't read all of it, so I'm kind of in the middle. But then I also don't just, you know, I'm also not throwing rocks at something that I don't understand. So like I know my place in that discussion, I guess. So
the internet
that's kind
needs
of
more of you. Yeah. That's a great statement for the internet era, and I wish more of us made it more often. I know my place in this. Like, yeah. Wonderful statement.
So I'm excited. I'm glad that it is appealing to both. I'm glad it's people who have been like, I didn't really get into that stuff, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing, and the fight scenes look great. I like that they're getting creative. It's the same thing I have with when Green Lantern comes up, and there are a lot of Green Lantern stories that are just kind of make them like everybody else, and then there's a bunch of Green Lantern stories that have fun with all of the abilities and weapons and things at their disposal, and they take advantage of that. I like when Star Wars does that. I like when we lean into the Force and it's not just like, let me shove somebody. I like when we lean into lightsabers and we're creative with it, and we get stuff like General Grievous, you know what I mean? Like, so I like when we take chances. This show already looks to be doing that, and the reactions paint that picture. So I mean, I'm good. I'm in.
Well, that's a perfect segue to do some promo and say that we will be doing a after show for the Acolyte that I believe we're calling the Acolyte Aftermath. It will be going live after every episode every week, because these are coming out on Tuesday evenings, and we will be live right after the show for 8 weeks straight. It'll be me. It'll be Jamie Lovett, who is also a Star Wars expert, and some rotating guest hosts with us each week to kind of break down these episodes of The Acolyte. We're going to be featuring kind of interviews with the cast and the crew that we've done or have on the schedule to be doing. And we will also get super geeky, taking some of the kind of deeper points that mainstream fans may not know and helping to explain the High Republic, like, the connections to the larger saga and all that. So mark it down now on our channels, on our Twitch stream, YouTube, on Comic Book, Twitter. We're going to be doing the Acolyte Aftermath. So after you guys watch each episode of the show, be sure to join us for those breakdowns because it's going to be a whole lot of fun. All right, but sounds like we're off to a good start because I know everybody was kind of like, oof, we don't know. This has been the X Factor series for a long time. Like, we just didn't know what Leslie Headland was cooking. We're playing, and I wrote a like everything to know about this. So if you need some help on Comic Book Star Wars, I wrote like a 1,300 word breakdown of everything you literally need to know for this, and condensed a lot of High Republic mess for you guys into just some simple sentences. But there's a lot that's pivotal here that's being played with. And I still think we're going to get a Dark Plagueis surprise out of all this. And that this is going to be at the heart of all this and how Dark Plagueis kind of helped secretly rebuild the Sith. And that'll be so hyped if we can connect High Republic lore with this main thread of the Skywalker saga and make them all gel. And if we get a smooth transition out of Star Wars, then Leslie Headland's done something like just smaller than God level, because yeah, we haven't had a smooth transition as Star Wars in like a decade. It's all clunky. All right. Well, moving right along, Matt, the next one, well, I'm hoping this will be a fun, but you never know what the grenades are in this show. So, Matt, let's get into our trailer park with the first biggest trailer of the week.
Yeah, Beetlejuice 2 dropped their full trailer. The thing we had before was a teaser, and we discussed it briefly on this show, and I was very much like, I enjoyed Beetlejuice, at the time, but it's never been like something I've just like beholden to and have like a giant affinity for. So I remember kind of being a little like, the teaser was fine. It didn't really kind of stroke those things of nostalgia or whatever for me. And so I kind of went into this with an open mind, and this trailer really gives us, I believe it was actually Janelle who pointed out that like, hey, we just kind of want more Beetlejuice. We want to see Beetlejuice like interacting, and you get that here. You get like a good half of this trailer is just him interacting, being goofy, having some of the seeing some of the effects in the various forms and things like that. Him taking on various costumes, and it's fun. It looks like it's striking like the right balance. Again, I'm not someone that's just like holds that movie up to like esteemed classic things. So like I still am like, oh, this looks fun. Like I want to see this. I imagine though, people who adore the first movie, I'm kind of more curious to hear what they think, because they're going to catch a lot more things than me. But I really dug it just from the kind of the mainstream fan. I think this is the trailer that a lot of people wanted to see the first time.
Connor, why don't you go ahead? Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'm with Matt in that I didn't grow up with Beetlejuice. I didn't see it until actually a couple years ago during COVID. And I get why it has such a fandom when it comes to like aesthetic and just, this screams like 90s Tim Burton goth. Hot Topic was built off the back of movies like this. I get it. But the movie itself, it's like, okay, sure, why not? And with the sequel, it looks like it's just going to be more of, hey, the fun, goofy stuff that happens about halfway through the first one, more of that, please. And yeah, that sold me. But, if you're like, oh, does this mix with the lore? Does this, does this bring back memories of the first one? I'm just like, I have no affinity to the first one. So I'm going to see this because I have to, not because I absolutely need to.
I miss you. Shout out to Janelle, who couldn't be with us today. She's handling, real life stuff today. Life stuff today. So shout out to Janelle, because this was very much, I built this as a Janelle show, and I miss Janelle right now. I mean, I love you guys, but I miss Janelle. because I needed another juice head in here with me. And I can't believe out of 3 people, I've managed to find 2 who are like non-Beetlejuice heads. But hey, that's the magic of this show. Everybody's very different, and no matter how long I do this with you guys, there's still just points where we all seem to find out new things about each other when we turn these corners of conversation, and we all assume I'm like, oh yeah, wait, what? I'm like, yeah. Connor made me faint with the Beetlejuice not till COVID thing. Matt saw I visibly fainted during that statement. So okay. All right. This is so weird. I feel like I'm in Bizarro Town. I'm the most positive today. All right. But yeah, this made me much more happy than I had any right to be. I'm a kid who grew up watching Beetlejuice incessantly on, cable when it was on like HBO. And I've admitted here that a lot of my, romantic patterns are, when I thought about it back, because I've been doing a lot of analysis on my generation and our romantic preferences. And there's a lot about boys you can explain by the fact that we all are like obsessed with Lydia Dietz. And what's that Babs Bunny from the Space Jam thing? Like, yeah,
oh God, Lola Bunny.
Lola Bunny, and that's why we have problems, because we're all obsessed with we're trying to find our Lydia Dietz and animated characters, and now that's half of like Instagram cosplay you don't want to stumble into, right? And ladies have like Pretty Woman and Dirty Dancing, and I was like, so the sex worker movie and the young underage girl movie, okay. So we all have problems from the 80s. It was a cocaine era, and we all just got to kind of accept that, right? But Beetlejuice is in my heart for better or worse, and this made me more happy than it ever had any right to. Michael Keaton back and looking older is great, because him looking more decrepit and disheveled as Beetlejuice just works for that character so well. Monica Bellucci, who is somehow still like drop dead beautiful, even when she's like Frankenstein stitched up as Beetlejuice's wife. And just the character actors you're getting to see shine in this, like Willem Dafoe, Justin Theroux as new additions. They're all instantly just feel so funny and zany and right at home in this world. I love that Burton is using the cheesy 80s animation for like the sandworm portions, like, because if they had done it, it wouldn't be Beetlejuice. That feels like Beetlejuice again. And I saw that and I was just like giggling like a little kid, because it's just the same old, just with like Jenna Ortega thrown in there and an older Winona Ryder. But I also love the idea of where I am in parenting, like seeing Lydia just try to get her daughter not to do this terrible thing. I literally just did that 5 minutes before we did this podcast, where it was like, please don't stick that into an electrical socket. No, I think I could do. No, please do not do that. You will die. Like, don't. No, I think no, please. Like, yeah. So her being the goth girl rebel and now having to be the parent is an interesting an interesting actual inroad into this for me. And her having to kind of, revisit those decisions with a young daughter who's now giving her hell is kind of funny as well. I'm going to love to see Catherine O'Hara just eating scenery as Delia, and just both kind of dealing with, now that she really knows the reality of like the undead and Beetlejuice and all that, and her just trying to like look at Lydia and be like, see, as that like kind of shit-eating mother-in-law, grandmother type deal. Like the 3 of them together on screen alone, Winona, Catherine, Jenna, is going to be funny and really entertaining. But Michael Keaton looks like he's just having a grand old time, because people don't realize, like, Michael Keaton was this weird guy that, like, when he became Batman, like, people were like, isn't he like a more funny kind of weird guy? How is he going to be like scary? But Michael Keaton has that thing about him. He's from Pennsylvania, so he's like kind of has that thing where he can look easily unhinged and deranged, and it's great when he's Beetlejuice, and it doesn't look like he's lost a step. So this so stupid. I should not have enjoyed this as much as I did, but they just have really seemed to recapture a lot of the magic from the movie, to the beats, to the new scenes of the familiar scenes of like the undead world that we're going to see. It just looks like fun, and I'm happy to be back in. So I'm actually strangely optimistic about this, legacy sequel, which doesn't happen often, but this one, they even got the Beetlegeist son. Like, it's all back, baby. We are so back, and I'm happy. All right. I've gushed enough. This is not my role. I wish Janelle was here. But yeah, I still have so much faith in this for some reason. It's just Tim Burton, and Tim Burton, I mean, Wednesday was great, but in terms of movies, I haven't had a lot of time to hope about things. So I hope that this isn't just a expert cut trailer and that the whole movie actually plays really well, as it gives me this feeling. Yes, I'll answer my own question in the rundown. Did it bring a smile to my dead, emotionless face at all? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. All right, I'm up next, and keep it going because I'm going to be talking about the trailer for Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. So, as we're revisiting everything, Eddie Murphy has been taking a stroll down pretty much every one of his famous roles, and the next stop is this long-awaited Beverly Hills Cop sequel, and so we got an Axel F. And again, like, I know this movie is dumb, okay? Like, just let me say this off top. It's dumb, but it looks like dumb fun. Like Eddie Murphy in the helicopter as we're watching on the screen, and you should be watching the live show with us, and just the kind of shtick that he's doing. And I didn't think I really paid attention because I've been so burned by these Beverly Hills Cop movies so many times before, so I didn't realize everybody who was in this. So when like you see Joseph Gordon-Levitt start popping up and like other people, I'm like, okay, this is a good replacement for like Judd and them, who are still kind of involved in this, but like it's gonna be, it looks like it's gonna be stupid, but a lot of fun. And the fact that it's on Netflix, and we were gonna do a whole retrospective on Madam Web today, but Janelle's not here again, so we were gonna talk about that. But it was the same thing. I had a lot more, I don't know about love, but leniency for Madam Web when I
Yeah.
put it on streaming. And I was like, okay, well, as a Netflix streamer, this is actually all right. Like, not so bad. But this looks like it's going to be the same way. I'm really interested to see this year, not to pit my own people against one another, but I am actually interested to see how I come away from Bad Boys 4 and Axel F and which one I feel is like better about, you know what I mean? Or if I'm just like, we got to start doing new stuff. But it's gotten a lot of things. It came out a day ago. It got 6 million views, like this trailer. So people are noticing that Murphy's coming back and still doing this. Connor, hit me with something. What did you feel about it? Because if I need to be corrected here, I feel like it'll come from you.
No, I have nothing to correct because much like with Beetlejuice, Beverly Hills Cop was just a cultural blind spot for me. I've since watched, I think, the first one in bits and pieces just because it ran on TV forever.
Brigitte Nelson.
I got nothing, mate. But I'm with you where I look at this and I look at Bad Boys 4 and I'm just like, okay, which one of these is going to be good? And I'm leaning towards this one because Martin Lawrence joking about black jelly beans in the trailer, and don't give me a lot of confidence in Big Willie style pulling out one bit more good movie. So yeah, if you asked about which of the two I'm leaning towards, it's this one.
Okay. All right. So you're leaning more towards this. I can't believe you've never seen Beverly Hills Cop 2. To that I say goodbye, Mr. Casey. Matt, I guess let's start with your Beverly Hills Cop familiarity and how you feel about this trailer.
Yeah, I've seen them all. But I mean, I enjoy them, right? But man, we brought Bad Boys into the conversation, and like I just adore that franchise. So like for me, this is actually gonna have to do a lot, or Bad Boys 4 is just gonna have to suck completely for me to be like, I just even a bad Boys movie, it's still pretty funny. It's still pretty enjoyable. I don't know. I find them great. So I have high hopes for that. So if I'm comparing just hype level, it's Bad Boys. But I think this is taking the right. I was also not as down on Coming to America as everybody else was.
I had fun.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you know what you're getting when you come into these,
but it's fun.
So if you have that adjustment level, I feel like you can enjoy a lot. And it's also taking the right thing, right? It's not taking itself super serious. Eddie's clearly like, hamming it up with some great actors and going into those bits. So like, and you have the nostalgic people like, from the original or some of those ideas. So like, I think it's fun, but I do agree with you. I think if this were a theatrical release, like, I think this is perfect for streaming. I think this is the perfect type of movie for streaming. It will get a lot of watches because of that, because people are curious. And I also think it takes some of the pressure off because it doesn't have to, be a thing of like it's in the, it's in all of the trades like for 3 days in a row of like, what did it pull in? And like, oh, this is a dud. Like, it's different, man. It's, it's the reason why, 50 Cent stopped releasing like full on albums and started doing EPs, right? Because he got tired of like, oh, hey, he even said it in an interview, like they don't grade it the same way. You don't grade everything against the Massacre or Get Rich or Die Trying if it's an EP. It doesn't get adjusted in the same way. So like, it's smart. I think it's smart positioning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about moguls of major 2000s hip hop companies, 50 Cent is probably the one we want to oddly lean to right about now. So, yeah, his views are pretty good and sound. So, I'm sorry, I'm looking. My YouTube has ended and is recommending all kinds of stuff, and you can imagine what kind of stuff is popping up in my recommendation. What kind of faces these days are popping up in news headline recommendations. But anyway, moving right along. All right, so we're strangely optimistic about Beverly Hills. This is Janelle. I mean, shout out to you, Janelle. I feel like this whole show is in honor of you, of us being strangely positive. When
it really is.
you don't have to carry the entire load for the show with all of us being just downers. So yeah, I mean, I was with you on Coming to America. I thought it was dumb, but it was fun. Like, it did what it did. It brought me back to that world, made me just like smile at those characters again. It's not going to be Coming to America, but it was just a fun revisit. So I'm kind of really hopeful for this one. But all right, Connor, you're on our final trailer in the trailer park today.
Yep, we've got a trailer for Stranger Things: The First Shadow, which is a new music. It's a new stage production.
The perfect house for the perfect family.
Yep.
Hitting me right
now. Let it play. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, this looks really promising. This first trailer kind of centers around Henry Creel. This play has actually debuted back in December over in the British's West End. So folks over in London can already see this. But the play itself is actually focused around Creel arriving in Indiana, but you've also got the younger versions of characters like Hopper and Joyce interacting with him. So I'm curious if this builds at all towards some sort of big conflict in season 5. And Cope, I saw in the rundown you asked, should this get the Hamilton Disney Plus style treatment? I kind of think it has to. And I'm a little confused as to why they haven't announced something like this already, because we're looking at a trailer. This is a pro shot already. So clearly they've got something in the can. And if you're Netflix and you want all things Stranger Things to do well, why not have this drop like a week before season 5? I think that would be incredible. This doesn't hit Broadway until next year, and I don't know if the excitement is going to be there for it once we do get to season 5, because then it's all just, yeah, we know what all happens here. We've wrapped up the story. No real need to go see a play about it. But no, I this looks awesome, and I hope I actually get to see it on my TV screen.
Yeah, I think it's the entertainment industry is a little still slow from that Hamilton lesson. Like stage plays are struggling. People are looking for content. Like doing stage productions at much lower cost and then streaming to people will come to it. Like people will watch it and embrace that format. I think they're still underestimating that. So like, I hope they do have a good rollout plan. Sorry, go ahead.
So part of it is streaming services are just slow on the uptake when it comes to that, but it's also on the Broadway side of it, where there's always been tension between Broadway and film and TV, where it's, hey, we're trying to do our own thing, but film and TV just gradually keeps creeping its way into Broadway productions, to where if you look at like this year's Broadway lineup, it's a lot of adaptations of movies and spinoffs of well-known IPs. Intellectual property dominates everything, and Broadway is no exception. So part of it's just politics, where, hey, it's like, hey, we want our stage stuff to stay on stage. If you want to see it, you got to come buy a ticket for it. But I think, as with all things, this eventually winds up on streaming services anyway. So part of it's just up the people are slow on the uptick. Part of it is politics.
Well, there you go. Boom. Connor Casey. He knows movies. He knows wrestling. He knows Broadway. All right. That's no shade either. You really did know that. That was a good breakdown. I can't ever tell if I'm being cynical anymore. So, there we are. But no, I'm kind of really highly interested in this, and I want to see like what the distribution is, because like you, I don't think I'm going to be in the West End of London anytime soon. or even New York. I'll be down here in Nashville, which is known for its Broadway culture.
Different Broadway.
Yeah, I didn't even get that, but that was a good one. Aha! But anyway, but I don't think we're going to see that down here. So I do hope we get to experience that in some way before we do, because it looks like interesting material that they've added. And yeah, I mean, and I can tell you from just, website feedback, people are definitely interested in this. So we're going to be keeping an eye on Stranger Things, The First Shadow. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, me and Connor Casey are going to tell you about Furiosa and everything you need to do to live chrome and beautiful. Okay? All right, let's talk about the new movie of the week, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. So, what was it? Was it 2014 that Fury Road came out?
2015.
2015. Okay, so it was about 9 years ago. I was really deep into this whole web blogging job. Screen Rant was popping then. But I had reached that point where I had watched so many movies throughout the 2010s and late 2000s for work and for a podcast and all that it was hard. I was starting to get to that point for the first time where it was hard for me to enjoy movies anymore without going in and being like, okay, I remember this from this trailer. I remember this from this set photo. I remember this. Oh, right. That's supposed to connect over here. And oh, yes, this is from this still image. Okay. Oh, what's that thing I haven't seen yet? Oh, is that coming? That whole thing that happens to us. Then I went out and saw Mad Max Fury Road. And for the start of that to the finish of that, I didn't move. I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't do anything. I was just strapped in, and it was crazy. And I felt movie magic. And shout out to our longtime listener, Brywood. Yeah, if you just watched Fury Road for the first time today, I wish I was you. I wish I was, again, just experiencing that movie for the first time. Great, great film. I had watched Mad Max growing up as a kid. The Terra Dome was on cable all the time. That big dome and all the stunts with it. Imagine when we thought that was the extent of wire fighting. Crazy. But Tina Turner, all that, it was iconic even when I was a kid. If nothing else, the everything, the way that Mad Max has influenced culture in terms of imagining wastelands and dystopias and all of that, it's created a million clones. But yeah, Fury Road really changed something for me. So this is a big deal when this movie came along, and we're going back to that world. And to bring this all around, I will say that Furiosa isn't Mad Max Fury Road, okay? Let's just put that out here. But there's something to be said, and I believe this in my bones, things are always easier when you have and it's easy to get perfection when you have a very stripped down and simple premise. Fury Road is literally a chase scene from point A to point B, and then they realize, oh, let's go back from point B back to point A. And that's what the whole movie is. That's it. It's just a chase scene, point A to point B, back to point A. And that's why it's easy to be perfect or feel like it's perfect. It's high octane throughout. It's edge of your seat. Not a moment is wasted. Not a frame is wasted. There's very little dialogue, so it's a lot of action. and stuff like that plays out in between Furiosa and Max and the wives and all this drama. So it's very hard to equal that. What I will say is Furiosa takes the world. Mad Max is like a short story. Furiosa is like a novel, okay? That's how I would compare it. Mad Max shows us, or Fury Road shows us a bunch of stuff. Bullet Farm, mentions Gas Town, mentions this whole system of Immortan Joe and his whole reign over this part of the wasteland. But we don't have to see anything that's literally not on the road with us from chase scenes. Furiosa opens it up and explores all of this, right? So the whole politics between the gangs, what's Gastown, what the Bullet Farm is, all these things we heard mentioned in Fury Road, but never got to see, are all fully realized in this. And this is a whole ass saga. They call it a saga, and it really is. I mean, this is the life of Furiosa up until literally the moment that Fury Road starts at the very end. So I think George Miller successfully expands the world, because that is hard to do. Once you start expanding things, it's so much easier for stuff to go wrong, to not hold together. Now, when you expand stuff like this, yeah, you're going to lose things. Like the momentum of this movie is not the same. It's not like go, 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 really start. It's a lot of slower, kind of more ruminating parts. Kind of, you know, like I said, it's an epic. It's a saga. It's about like almost biblical epic about this one character and everything she does to survive, to make it, and to become the most hardened warrior, one of the most hard warriors in this wasteland when she starts out as a little girl from the green place, right? And I think this successfully does that. Like, it is a good epic. I didn't get up. I didn't get up to go to the bathroom. I had to refill my soda. I was thirsty. That was it. But I was pretty enraptured in this. Instead of being like edge of my seat, I was in the world and just being like, I'm concerned about this world. I'm concerned about Furiosa. There's some other characters that come into it that are pretty cool that I was like, okay, like I do this. And I think this does the job of a prequel in making you appreciate more of what happens in Fury Road. Like, after you know the full context of this and you go back and watch Fury Road, and I've already started doing this, it's a lot deeper. It's a lot deeper what Furiosa is going through that day. Why does she bond with Max in the way she does? And like all of that. And, you know, by the end of that movie, when you see the state she's in that final shot of Mad Max, like, now you really understand what a, and I can't curse, but what a effing journey that's been to get where she gets by the end of that movie. So I think this does that all successfully, but inevitably it's just not as high octane, edge of your seat, you know, trim, pure movie, just thrill as Fury Road. But that's my take. Connor, Casey, what did you see?
Fair enough. Furiosa is an echo of Fury Road. And even though it is lesser than its predecessor is one of the best movies of the 21st century. So you're still going to be pretty good, even if you are an echo of that attempt. You make a lot of really good points. For me, I kept asking myself, why make this prequel? Why not just make another Mad Max movie? Why not just make different characters, set it in different part of the wasteland? You have a character who is basically a Max stand-in, and not just including, spoiler, a particular character who does appear in one shot of one scene. I felt like this didn't need to be a prequel, because when it is Anya Taylor-Joy giving her very intense performance where she is virtually silent for most of the movie, when Chris Hemsworth is doing this bombastic Seth Rollins meets Matt Berry from What We Do in the Shadows performance, which is unlike anything else we've seen in Mad Max up until this point. It's great. When it's talking about the toxicity of and the hollowness that comes from just being so dead set on revenge, when it's three really excellent action sequences, and if I named them, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about, Cove.
Oh, I know. You said it in your tweet.
These are great. There are some great stuff in here. But when it starts becoming a prequel and we keep getting reminded of Fury Road, I'm left sitting there going, I wish you weren't reminding me of a better movie, because I wish I was watching that movie instead. And part of it's unavoidable. Part of it is, hey, you said it, in this particular wasteland, you have Immortan Joe, you have the Citadel, you have Bullet Farm, you have Gastown. Some of that was going to be unavoidable. But when they start recreating shots that he did 9 years ago, when it's so many shots of, hey, here's a war rig. It's surrounded by war boys. They're incompetent, but they are threatening because they're willing to kill themselves for this crazy ass leader we've got over here. When it and towards the end, when it's literally sprinting its way through a conflict that could have been the second half of this movie, and they just go, let's just montage it so we can get all the way up to the very moment before Fury Road starts, and then in the credits just show you clips from Fury Road. It inextricably links these two together to where I go, all I'm thinking about is Fury Road while watching this. And when comparing the two, this one's messier. It is nowhere near as economical with its time. I'm not asking it to be a nonstop thrill ride the same way the last one was, but man, there are just some pacing issues with this thing. And in the same way that fans look at The Road Warrior and they look at Thunderdome and they say, one was obviously trying to do more, but it is a step down in terms of quality. I can't speak for you on that, Cope, but that seems to be the general consensus.
No, that's always the general consensus. Yeah,
this is the same way. Fury Road is such a high, and while there are great things to love about Furiosa, it is lesser because it tried to do more but couldn't detach itself from what it was trying to build off of.
I'll push back a little bit on the pacing. This is kind of framed as an epic, like we get it in chapters. The chapters are all very specifically named and kind of shaped. So I got it as more of a kind of heroic epic, whereas Mad Max isn't a hero at all. Like he's just kind of there. And I get why this exists because people came away from Fury Road saying, there was that whole debate, if you remember, one of the only criticisms of that movie was this isn't a Mad Max movie. Mad Max is a secondary character to Furiosa. This is a Furiosa movie. And I think there's some truth to that. I think this new chapter of this whole saga is really centered on Furiosa. And I think if there's a third film, then it's going to be like, yeah, Mad Max will be involved, but it will still be about Furiosa and like holding on to the Citadel. So I get why we need this chapter to really fill in her character. I get that part. And I didn't think, I agree with you that the pacing kind of takes a turn in the third act. I don't think they land the plane quite as well. I get from a character perspective why it happens. And there's a great monologue. And it's probably one of my favorite scenes from Chris Hemsworth is that last one where we get that awesome line from the trailer, because I've been like getting scared. I was like, we're getting towards the end. Is that line in this movie? The epic line, and that I get, but there is a weird denouement with Dementis's whole arc in this, because it's not like homie. I don't want to spoil things, but it's not. Yes, the lessons about revenge and the fulfillment of that, or the lack of fulfillment, kind of really do. I get what they're saying, but as a movie payoff, it is kind of a soft payoff at the end. I will be the first to say that. But I think the sequences, when you look back at Fury Road, it is just straight chasing with the war rig and scenes like that. Mm-hmm. This one does a lot. I mean, the battles that we do get are a lot more intricate in this one. And those sequences, I think, are very well done. Like there are things that, and I think we've just gotten so spoiled with George Miller from Fury Road that we forget that making some of this look as easy as it does is crazy. Yeah. Like the ones with the fans in this, like when the guys are flying on fans and doing all that.
The parasailing, the weaponized truck nuts are like, that's the two things that everyone's going to remember from this movie.
Oh yeah. And it's like,
nothing comes close to the Doof Warrior, but those make an honest try of it.
Yeah, no, the parasailing stunts and stuff like that in this are insane. Like there were moments still in this where my eyes were like looking like this is a movie, but like this is so much that they've done and nailed in these sequences that it's just the magic was there for me. Even some scenes I thought wouldn't be from the trailers, like the one with her against the door with the fire. Like in the movie, that scene's actually pretty dope. Like what's happening there and everything. And but I will say that yes, it is a little heavy-handed. but I get why they did it. But when we get the Mad Max in about the middle of the second X, it gets very Mad Max-ish. But it's necessary to explain again, how Furiosa learns to be a war rig driver and all this stuff. But that did get a little bit heavy-handed because you're like, that is a direct echo. That is saying like, oh, she, and again, you care about this person and giving you backstory as to why she cares about Max, but it was heavy-handed, and I was just like, okay, yeah. And I can concede that.
But that's where I get back to the frustration is that up until this point, George Miller had never really cared about the lore of the Mad Max movies. He saw these as like, look, these are epic bedtime stories. You don't need to really know why Max acts differently in some of the movies. You don't need to know why he suddenly looks different between Mel Gibson to Tom Hardy. That's not the important stuff. The important stuff is what's happening right in front of you. And it's one of the many reasons why Fury Road works so well. And you could take all the pieces from Furiosa that George Miller clearly wanted to put on screen and put that in a movie that's completely detached from Fury Road. And I think you have a great movie. But because it's a prequel, because you decided, hey, it's got to be Furiosa, even though this is an old screenwriting adage, but if you ask yourself, is what's happening to my character right now the most interesting thing that's happened in their lives? And if not, why aren't you telling me that story? You told me that story. It's called Fury Road, and it's great. You could have avoided a lot of the problems with this were this not a prequel, were this not trying to escape from the shadow of Fury Road, and just a different kind of Mad Max movie set completely detached.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think that's going to be your take. I think that for me, though, and we didn't mention it, but I think the first act was the time in this when I was on the edge of my seat. That first act, I think, is amazing.
There's like a good 40 minutes where it's just a pursuit, and you're like, this is
awesome. Yeah, and that whole section is awesome. The opening of this movie is awesome. I think where it kind of is the middle of the second act into the third act is where I think you get some of the more of the pacing issues, trying to land this plane, because it becomes a big plane and it gets kind of scattered throughout the thing because of time, pacing, and reason for why we need a climax gets kind of crazy. But all in all, I would still say if I gave like Fury Road a perfect 5 or a 4.5 out of 5, I'm still giving this a 3.5 or 4 out of 5, like in that range, because I still think comparatively to other action movies, like this is still way up there.
Yeah, that's fair. Like if you're asking me to give it a grade, like I give Fury Road a 6 out of 5. Like it's my favorite action movie of the 21st century that doesn't involve John Wick or Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. This is, like you said, if that's a 6, this is a 3.5.
Okay. All right. So there you go. That's a pretty big range for you guys to kind of figure your way through for Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. I would definitely go see it in theaters this weekend. And if you haven't watched Fury Road, go on Max or whatever and press play, put it on your big sound system, your biggest TV, or your biggest headphones, gaming computer setup, whatever you got, and just strap in for that. And then go see if you want to see this one. But I think it'll be doing well at the box office because people are ready for a big movie, and this is definitely that. And it is worth a big theater screen. So, all right. Thank you, Connor. We're going to move on. I'm going to really quickly touch on another movie that's coming out over Memorial Day weekend, which is the Garfield movie. The Garfield movie is kind of this new take on Garfield and Garfield lore. And I'm just going to be real quick about this. Garfield movie's okay. It's okay. It's no Pixar. It's no Pixar whatsoever. It's an okay kind of reboot of the Garfield movie series since 2000, and that first started in 2004 with the live action Bill Murray movies. It's just okay. It tries to get back and get some depth to Garfield, which is, again, like Connor was saying about Mad Max. I don't know if we need that much depth to Garfield. Part of what makes Garfield fun is just him being the cat that he is. But it tries to do that by explaining, his relationship with his father, how he ended up with John, like all that stuff. And so it's just okay. The kids will like it. There's a lot of kind of funny stuff for kids, but there's not too much that's deeper to this, and by the time there's a heist movie thrown into it. that gets kind of fun because, like I said, that's kind of action-packed and funny for the kids. But if you grew up with like reading the Garfield treasuries and all of that, and that's how you know Garfield, this isn't for you. This is not for you 80s, 90s kids. This is a modern kid's chance to meet Garfield. Now, that said, I do have a PSA, which is, yo, come on, man. Like, what? We got to stop giving Chris Pratt every role. I can't take this. Chris Pratt is not great as Garfield, okay? I'm just going to put that out there. Chris Pratt is not great as Garfield. Samuel L. Jackson's good as his father. Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso is great. Ving Rhames is funny as his heartbroken bull. There's a lot of good voice acting. Harvey Guillen from What We Do in the Shadows as Odie. Yeah, there's a lot of good voice acting in this. Nicholas Hoult is great as John, almost unrecognizable. But Chris Pratt as Garfield is just not it for me. Okay? And we got to stop, like, I don't know. I saw that movie, the David Dastmalchian movie, Late Night with the Devil. Whatever Hollywood deal got Chris Pratt every role ever now. Like, we gotta scale that back. I'm sorry. I don't usually get on my soapbox about this, but I was amazed that we pulled off Mario, but now throwing Garfield into this too, it's getting to be too much Pratt for me. So let's take down the Pratt a little bit. This one will be fun for the kids. If you want to go, I recommend a matinee. That's about it. That's about all I think it's worth. But check out Garfield movie if the kids need something to do. But yeah, just okay. All right. Let's get into some wrestling talk. Matt's going to be leading that. And today we have a special guest joining us, new to the comic book team, making her debut, I believe, on ComicBook Nation. Is this your first time on the show? We have so many shows now, I can't keep track.
I think we did a Royal Rumble preview when I was here.
Oh,
like,
okay.
My first, live show.
Okay, well, Haley Miller, welcome to the live show. And you and Matt take it away, because what's going on in the world of wrestling as summer kicks off?
I mean, we've got 2 shows this weekend. It's action-packed. We've got AEW with Double or Nothing, and we have the King and Queen of the Ring, which is making its return. We get the finals. I'm very excited. How are you feeling, Matt?
Hey, that's why. Because the buttons hit over
like,
here on the other side. I don't remember muting myself, but hey, there we go. Okay. So I was having a great conversation with myself, which could have been said about my entire childhood.
Lips. I was like,
So yeah, no, I until like a week and a half ago, I gotta say I didn't actually remember that these were both on the same weekend. So it's like I thought they were spaced out further apart. So WWE's King and Queen of the Ring hits on Saturday, and then we have Double or Nothing, which is it safe to say that it's the like second most prestigious AEW pay-per-view like of the year? Now I feel like All In has been that top one, but then like Double or Nothing is kind of there as number 2, right?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say since they have started doing All In last year, that Double or Nothing has taken the second spot, and then I would say like All Outs after that.
Yeah, and they're giving that more space, so good on AEW. So we'll go in order because one's on Saturday, one's on Sunday. So we'll start with King and Queen of the Ring, and we'll start with the announcement that was recent with Triple H coming out, and I feel like doing something that should have been done like for a while, and saying, hey, the people who win these titles don't just get to walk around with crowns and scepters and thrones. They get a title shot, and they get a title shot at SummerSlam. So you are immediately putting real stakes here. This matters because now this is going to be like a centerpiece for your second biggest pay-per-view of the year. So I think, or premium live event, I should say. Sorry. So yeah, I think that's huge, and I think that's a big step. And the thing is, with the people left in this, those will finish up on SmackDown. So we'll have our final things, but each one has 3 people that are currently eligible. We all, I don't know about you, but for me, there are like 2 clear favorites, one for each, right?
Yeah.
And so we'll start with that. Because now we have this new paradigm, we have for the Queen of the Ring, we have Lyra Valkyria, which I'm amazed that she's in the spot. That is amazing because she's been fantastic. We have Nia Jax and we have Bianca Belair. Out of those 3, who do you feel is going to take it and why? Because now we have a SummerSlam program attached to it.
So emotionally, I want Lyra to win. I feel like they've done a really fantastic job positioning her on the main roster so far. She has 3 wins. She's been doing really great. The crowd loves her. But I do feel that Nia Jax is going to take this. Which, I mean, whatever. But I feel like with them running the angle that Bianca is injured, it gives Nia Jax more heat defeating Bianca, who's such a big baby face. And I do think it would be funny to kind of see Nia in that position and just kind of, I don't know. I think it'd be great, but I do want Lyra to win.
So that's the sticky situation, right? I get from a booking angle.
Yeah.
I totally get Nia winning because you then have your heel, your monster heel in there. Also Bianca, they have gone above and beyond to give her, she didn't need it anyway, but plot armor, right? Like she's been hurt. She's been winning these things off of like one leg. Okay. we got it. She can lose. She's fine. She's safe. So it's either do they just go all the way with like letting Lyra roll with it. And I think even to this point, her winning so many matches and them being actually great showcases for her, I think she's fine. I think if she takes the loss, it's Nia Jax. You know what I mean? Like, so no one's going to be like, what? Like, what is that? Like, and then she just hits an obstacle she can't overcome yet. And then we build that whole thing back, right? So she's fine. I do agree with you. I want Lyra to win. Because I loved Lyra in NXT. Her title run to me was actually cut a little short just because of where the draft was in WrestleMania. So I think like, why not? Like just put her, like let her run with the ball early. But I get it. Let's have, stop the train. Let's put some, as the Cody program gave us, adversity. Let's put some adversity in front of her, let her overcome it. Right. So for the King side, we have Gunther. And then, is there anyone else in the, oh yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Gunther was my, I feel like there's no, how do you not have Gunther win? But okay. We have Randy Orton and Tama Tonga. Who's winning this?
The whole thing, Gunther. But I feel like on SmackDown, it's interesting because like I want Randy to win. Like I would love to see Gunther and Randy in the finals and see Gunther win it all. I don't think Randy needs that. He can take the loss, whatever. But it's interesting because they're trying to reestablish this new bloodline with Solo Sikoa kind of headlining it and also trying to establish Tama Tonga, who recently debuted. I could see him winning. Would I want that? No. But I could see from like a booking standpoint, like trying to make the bloodline, stronger now that Roman's not there.
Yeah, I think we get, to me, I think that's I could see it going that way. But what I do think is a loss also helps that. That's the wonderful thing about the bloodline story, right? Losses by everyone but Roman, still help the storyline along because we have Jacob waiting in the wings, right? So what's a reason to bring him in? A loss, we're not strong enough yet. You go and grab him. So there's ways to build that out even if he's not there. And then also you give people a dream match scenario. You give Gunther, Randy Orton one night. You can come back to it later as a feud. They're not on the same brand right now, so that's fine. So this is really the only kind of opportunity you're going to get for something like that for a while. So, but I just don't know how you avoid Gunther versus, I mean, I don't care. Like anybody, you know what I mean? Just like, he's going to be on Raw. So like, okay, you do that. But there's also a part of me that, we got trades rumored and stuff like that. Man, it would be awesome to get that Cody versus Gunther match we wanted for so long. So I just think it's his to lose. And so it will be a super shock if he doesn't walk away with the title shot. And having that. So that's where we stand with Queen and King of the Ring. There is also one other match. You look at the card and it's a kind of a pretty tight card because of the King and Queen of the Ring, right? But you look at this and go, if you just glanced, you would go, oh, all of those are easy to guess.
Yeah.
This person's going to retain, this person's going to retain, this person's retain. But there is one that I feel like actually has come up as a little bit of like, not as 100% as I felt before. And that's Becky versus Liv. And it's all Liv. It's all the Rhea, the building up, all that stuff that's kind of nothing really to do with Becky.
Yeah.
I think it's not a referendum on Becky or if her title's not running. I think it's just storyline related. More and more people are kind of like, okay, does Liv take it here? We build. Rhea's not super far off, so like, do we start that momentum here and lead into like a SummerSlam or something where maybe Rhea's good by then? Who knows? Do you think there's any chance of that happening?
I do think that Liv is going to win here. Especially with the teases of her with Dom's like purple bandana in her pocket and like the backstage teases between them. So I could fully see her taking the title here. When she didn't win on Raw, I was a little bummed about it, but I do think having her win at a PLE, it's so many more stakes for her. In a big match against Becky, her character has evolved so much. And I do think that this is the time for her. And I'm just excited to see her possibly lead Judgment Day in place of Rhea. Like, that's really interesting. That adds a different layer to it, especially when Rhea comes back. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, man. I this one has me but when this was announced, I was like, oh, okay, cool. That'll be a great showcase. I'm a Liv fan, but like, you're not beating Becky, right? Like, not right now. And then I was like, people won me over. This might be the one, and I'd be all for a second go at a title run for Liv, because that first one started out great and then just went off the rails a little bit. All right, so let's move into AEW Double or Nothing, unless there's anything else you wanted to add on Queen of the Ring.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's pretty, I think it's pretty cut and dry. Cody's beating Logan, right? He's got to beat Logan. Yeah, that's got to happen. Wish fulfillment there. Okay, so moving into AEW Double or Nothing. I have been so excited to talk about this with you, right? Because me and Haley, in our AEW coverage, we have a couple people that we disagree on, and then we have a couple people we agree on. And one of those bridges is Mercedes Moné, formerly Sasha Banks of WWE. Mercedes is going to be her debut match in AEW at Double or Nothing against another fan favorite, the amazing Willow Nightingale, for the TBS Championship. So I'm curious because this build has been weird, and it's been weird due to like circumstances like outside of just like normal booking. It's being not cleared to wrestle and stuff like that. Like, it's not. AEW would want to get her in the ring as soon as possible, but there were certain things of like Mercedes was still not cleared. You have to wait a certain amount of time, all that. So that can't be helped, right? So it's been a little weird, but it really hit a gear last week. Kind of hit that full gear. There you go. Hit that, and then it feels like we're really moving. It's just unfortunate that was like only a week away. How do you feel about the build to this match, to this point, and who wins?
So I do agree with you that it's been a little wonky, but I do think that Dynamite segment that they had with the table spot really gave the feud the shot in the arm that it needed desperately, because they're both fantastic talents, and obviously they have so much history together with their New Japan match, and obviously that's where Mercedes got injured. But for me, I really want Willow to win, just because I don't want her title reign cut short. But the women's division, I feel like right now is a little bit weird, and so I could see that they would want to put the title on Moné. She's one of the biggest wrestlers, women's wrestlers that they have on the roster right now, and with I don't like to get into ratings talk, but with things a little down, perhaps that could help, giving her the title. But I do think that there's a scenario where Willow retains and Monet turns heel. I would like to see that. I think that it would automatically make Willow the top babyface and automatically make Monet the top heel. And then Monet can go and fight for the world title, which is where I feel like she should be.
Yeah, if you had asked me a month ago, I would have said there's no way in hell that Monet is not winning that match.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even number one. Typically, she was supposed to win the strong title.
Yeah.
And then she got hurt. So that was a quick trying to adapt on the fly, right? Yeah. Same with IWGP. Like, she was booked in those to win. Like, she was supposed to take those titles. So it's when this was first like, oh, we're going after the TBS championship. Okay, well, that's going to go to her whenever that match finally happens. It was just unfortunate to me that, like, the shakeout of scheduling and events, Willow was champ. Yeah. Because yes, you build in the story that comes in with that. So it makes all the sense, but she hasn't been champ for very long and she's already doing such a great job with it. And I'm like, oh my God, any other time, if this had been a month later or whatever. So Monet's already a heel. She just hasn't made the declarative statement on TV of like, I'm coming after the locker room, all that stuff. Like, she's a heel and everyone kind of saw it coming after like 3 weeks of very heelish promos anyway, right? She was already leaning in the stuff and it was just like, soon the crowd will catch on. She's like CEO and everything built into that. She's already a heel, right? So I agree with you. I think there's a way that Willow wins, retains. You get to ride out. I like Fiery Willow. So that's a win across the board. And then Monet can really just lean in. She can wrestle now in the ring. So you can get her doing some squash matches, jumping in with other talent while you build to that rematch and then have her do it.
Yeah.
There's just a part of me that goes, I don't know if they'll do it. I think they still might go, let's get the title on her. Let's write that we can do the Willow rematch later and build Willow back up if we want. So I don't know if I have the faith that they will like stick it out. Because ultimately, I actually think that's the better long-term proposition for both. Because I think you build up both stars that way. Yeah. You just have to have a little patience. But I don't know if they'll do it. So I hope your prediction goes correctly. Because that's what I would like to see. And I can't believe I'm saying that. Because that's so weird. I can't believe I'm like going like saying Monet not winning.
Monet fans, and we're both like,
yeah. It's. Yeah. So that brings us to, it's a pretty full card. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is it 9 matches? 8. No, 9. Yeah, 9 matches long. It's a pretty full one. What match for you steals the show? Because there are a couple of contenders.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I feel like Anarchy in the arena for me will, and not just because the Elite are involved, but I love like those like gimmicky matches. But I'm interested to kind of see how the Elite win there, right? Because obviously they're gonna use their EVP power and they're gonna do all their heelish tactics, and I just think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm excited for Anarchy in the arena.
Man, so that's a perfect segue to our next question. So I will just throw in, man, I think Adam Copeland, Malachi Black could be a really great match because I just love watching Malachi Black wrestle, and Copeland has just impressed me so much in his AEW run. Like those matches are fantastic. And I wasn't always a fan of some of his matches in WWE when he kind of came back. Like some of those were like kind of sloggy to me sometimes. But it has not been the case here. I've been thoroughly impressed. So I think that one, Roderick Strong, Will Ospreay.
I forgot that was happening.
Yeah. Roderick is, he's done so much with his character because that was always kind of a weak spot. And it was like the mic and stuff like that wasn't always his like strongest attribute. But when he gets in the ring, he's amazing. and Osprey is just Osprey, right? So I think those two could end up stealing the show. But yeah, I agree with you. Anarchy in the Arena, just the sheer fun of it, the chaos, and that brings us to the last question to close this out, because the Elite have obviously taken over AEW, much to some of our chagrins, to others not so much. And we've seen kind of, Tony Khan wearing a neck brace and knocked out at the middle of the ring, returning with Darby Allin with a flamethrower, which that segment was awesome. I was going to say fire, but I didn't want to be redundant. And then like Kenny Omega doing promos from his hospital bed. Like there's just so much crazy stuff happening in this. How do you feel about this? Because obviously this really kicked off when Jack Perry came back. They leaned into all that, and they've really kind of completed this kind of new Elite, right, with Okada and everything. Them taking over shows, using the power. Now we got Tony Khan finally back up and running and being their counter, and we've got Omega claiming his EVP stuff. How have you felt about the execution of this? And what do you want to see happen at Double or Nothing involving it? Because like Omega, just reports say just had surgery, so I don't think he would appear, but maybe on video, who knows, right? They could have filmed something ahead of time. So what do you want to see?
So first of all, I love what they're doing with the story. I love that they're feeding into what their critics have said for years about their EVP status and, all of that. I love it. I think that the Young Bucks do some of their best work when they're able to do heel work. Like I like them as faces, but I just think that they do the best stuff when they're heels. And bringing in Okada is perfect. And I think Jack Perry as well is doing the best work of his career, especially in AEW. I haven't always been on board with it, but his promos lately have been so good. He's so much better in the ring. That mini New Japan run that he had, I think served him very well. As for what I want to see, I think it's interesting that there are reports about MJF returning soon. And then Adam Cole is also posting like little tidbits on his social media. So I don't know, maybe like MJF could be like an adversary for the Elite in some way, whether that's with like the Swerve stuff or like Anarchy in the Arena, I don't know. But, his whole thing prior to him leaving was the bidding war of 2024. And obviously, there have been reports that he signed a long-term extension with AEW at some point last year. So I don't think he's leaving. But with him coming back, I think that they could feed into that. Maybe the Elite offered him something, like whether it's more money or more power or something. Like I think that would be really interesting. But I'm excited for it regardless.
So I gotta say, I don't really understand why I'm doing this. I want I want to see this continue. And the reason why I want to see it continue is because I kind of, it's like really hurting me to say. I want this to continue because what I think it could be destined for is that sort of Avengers level payoff we got with the Bloodline, right? You ended up involving over the course of that run, everybody and their brother lost to Roman or was affected by the Bloodline in some form or fashion. And then you get that big payoff ending where it's not just Cody, it's everybody. He has all these allies because even if they don't like him, they just want to see the other team go the way. Right now, it actually feels too small.
Yeah.
And it's because it only involves, right, FTR, part of the BCC and Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin's back, right? And so
after getting hit by a bus.
It feels almost what?
After he got hit by a bus a month ago?
Yeah, right. It fell from mountain. Like what? I just like it almost feels too small. So like I'm excited for this particular match, but I do see the potential for that to go forward, and you get Swerve, you get MJF, and really form a start to build a and keep Darby, right? But like still feel like a true team AEW that starts to feel like NWO size, things, right? This is an actual team of like who represents the brand and who doesn't. You really start to split it that way. I could see it working because I will tell you, they do work better as heels. And I think right now it's working. And I think Tony's whole thing of like, I like that he didn't actually come in. I like that he was in the car and he just dropped Darby off the flamethrower and went, hey, go wreak havoc. I actually liked that. Thought that was good. So like, I could see this going places. And so I think that's a great one. And I almost want to see it get bigger. And yes, there we go. I had to eat a lot of crow on this show. I had to eat crow here. So there we go.
It's interesting because they do have Omega's still, right? Even though he just underwent surgery, like he's going to come back eventually. Hangman is in the fold. He's at home, but I'm assuming he'll be back soon. They have Christian, they have Swerve. So many of these, huge names in AEW involved in this story. So I think it'll be interesting.
No distance nerding. We're not bringing Jericho into EVP everything. No.
You know what would be interesting?
Shame.
What would be interesting with Mercedes and her whole like CEO thing, like bringing her into the elite? That would be.
I've seen those. Yeah, I've seen some people theorize that, and that makes all the sense in the world, actually. Because then you bring in the women's division, and they can be a part of it too. And oh man. And
her and Okada as a tag team would be so good.
Look, they already held up the titles once, right? Mm-hmm. Together. You can bring back those images and like it's just destiny. Oh man, dang it. I'm sold. All right, anyway. All right. Sold myself. So, okay, well, that is wrestling. You can definitely Team Comic Book will be covering both events, and we will have you covered on all the results, all the big theories, and all of that this weekend. So, yeah, thank you, Haley, for jumping in and doing this. Kofi Connor, want to hop back in? So we can do a big group hug, and we can send everybody off the right way. You're muted, Kofi.
I would say please subscribe to Comic Book Nation. Witness us! We are here pretty much every day of the week. We do different segments, including Anime Initiative on Tuesday, Matt with the comics pull list on Wednesdays, Matt and some others from the gaming team with Quick Save on Thursdays, our live show on Fridays. Plus, we got bonus eps coming your way for everything from big wrestling events to our Star Wars Acolyte Aftermath after show, which is coming down the pike. So you get in for one subscription, you get a whole bunch of podcasts. And if you're still looking for more, you can also get your MCU fix over on the Phase Zero feed. They have their own feed, and you can hop over there and check out all the latest things happening in the MCU over there. So, like I said, witness us. We will all be in Valhalla after doing this show today because everybody did such a good job. All right, everybody go have a good Memorial Day weekend. School's out, fall, summer, and it's time to party by the pool. I'm getting started. I will see you guys out there on Fury Road, revving engines, keeping it chrome as we tend to do on this podcast. This has been an elongated ending. I could keep going too, but we're not. We're going to cut it short now. I'm running out of gasoline over here. I need some lunch. Let's get out of here.
Jericho promo.
Nation. Yeah, Comic Book Nation. We're out of here. Everybody have a good weekend. Peace.
Later.